I've wanted to do this to share with you, my congregation and friends, some Holy Week devotions this week, Holy Week, the week leading up to Easter, the holiest time of the year for followers of Jesus Christ. This week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to bring a different devotional thought to you from the Gospel of John, chapters 12 and 13, and then John chapter 19. Today we're going to read from John chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. This is the Word of God. Jesus, therefore, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they made him a supper there, and Martha was serving, and Lazarus was one of those reclining at the table with him. Mary then took a pound of very costly perfume of pure nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples who was intending to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" Now he said this not because he was concerned about the poor, but because he was a thief, and he had the money box. He used to pilfer what was put in it. Therefore Jesus said, "Let her alone, that she may keep it for the day of my burial. For you always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." The large crowd of Jews then learned that he was there and came, not for Jesus' sake only, but that they might also see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. But the chief priests planned to put Lazarus to death also, because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. And may God add his blessing to the reading of his holy word. I read a story about an art exposition that attracted a lot of attention. But in the lobby of the gallery, there were 4 paintings that became more of a fascination to the visitors than any of the rest of the art in the gallery. These 4 paintings were done on mirrors, so that when you looked at them and looked at the beautiful painting on them, you saw yourself reflected in the painting. There's a sense in which we can look at other people and have a mirror of ourselves. That's what I wanted to do with this passage. Besides Jesus, there are 4 other people. There's Martha, who is serving. There's Lazarus, who is reclining. There's Mary, who's washing Jesus' feet with expensive perfume. And there's Judas, who is complaining. What do we see when we look at Martha? What we see with Martha is in the question, do we allow the daily task of living to rob us of fellowship with Christ? That is a key question. Do you in your life allow the daily busy task of living to rob you from time with fellowshipping with Christ and his word and with other believers? Now I know during this virus we're having to meet in different ways, but this fellowship is important to all of our lives. If you look at Martha, do you see yourself? And then there was Mary. Mary buys this expensive perfume and washes his feet with it. It was an act of extravagant love. Here's the thing about love. Love never calculates the cost. Love just acts. A man by the name of William Sidney Porter, better known by his pen name, O. Henry, penned a famous short story called The Gift of the Magi. There was a man and a woman. She had long, beautiful hair, and he had a gold watch. It had been a gift from his grandfather, but he had no chain for that pocket watch. Both of them wanted to give a special gift to each other because they loved each other so much. So she cut her hair and sold it to have the money to buy a gold chain for his watch. He sold his watch so he'd have the money to buy 2 beautiful combs with jewels on them to put in her beautiful long hair. As they came together on Christmas to share their gifts, each discovered the sacrifice the other had made because of their love. That's the nature of true love. It never calculates the cost. That's Mary. When you look, do you see Mary, do you know how to share that extravagant love? And then there's Judas. Judas is complaining. Judas wants to know why that this perfume wasn't sold for 300 denarii. Now let's stop and think about that. A denarii was considered a day's wage for a working man. Therefore, 300 denarii were 300 days of wage. Let's translate that today. Minimum wage is $7.25. So if you have 300 days of 8-hour days of working at minimum wage, that's $17,400. This was very expensive perfume. While love never calculates the cost, greed is always calculating the cost. And that was Judas. He kept their purse. He was stealing from it. It wasn't that he was concerned for the poor. He was seeing an opportunity lost, an opportunity to benefit himself. What about you? Do you see some of Judas in you? Judas, who we're told is going to betray Jesus? There was Martha, who we see the daily task of living getting in the way of fellowship with Christ. There's Mary, where we see extravagant love that does not count the cost. There's Judas, who we see greed, and the betrayer who counts the cost of everything. And then finally, there is Lazarus. He's attracting attention, for good or for bad, because he had been dead. And Jesus brought him back from the tomb alive. People are wanting to see him. The crowds are drawn to him. Whether that's good or that's bad, you talk to celebrities and they can tell you the downside of it, but they can also tell you the good side of it. But Lazarus, sitting there reclining at the table to eat, Lazarus is a picture of the power of Christ to change a life. He had been sick, deadly. He had died. He had come from the tomb. And now he's reclining like he doesn't have a care in the world. The power of Christ to transform a life. When you look at Lazarus, do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a life that has been transformed? It's Monday of Holy Week, and we're on our way to Easter. And on this first day, we look in the mirror of 4 people. Martha, who is serving, Lazarus, who is reclining, Mary, who gives extravagant love, and Judas, who is complaining. I'm Pastor Carl White, and I'll see you again tomorrow.